Okay, here we go. It's part two of the legal experience in the ARCR seminar. We are going to happily and gladly explain to you now about the requirements and regulations and types of residency procedures. All right? Residency in Costa Rica is a matter of basically 3 or 4 documents and a lot of waiting. Okay, it's not difficult. It's not a difficult process. It's just trying to qualify to the best type of residency that you personally, in your personal specific situation, will fit, and being able to provide the documents and being able to have a law firm or an attorney that can do the job correctly, and you'll be walking out of the immigration office with a smile in about a year and a half with your ID card in your hand. Now, why get residency? Residency in Costa Rica is a requirement for the people that are thinking on overstaying their tourist visa. Okay? And the tourist visa right now, it depends, it goes from 30 days to 180 days. And they're going to overstay because they want to stay here, live in longer terms than that. They want to make Costa Rica their hub. They want to stay here forever and ever. They want to be a part of the community. And the only way to do that and to be that is that they apply to be a part of that community. Before that, they're only tourists. Tourists have no rights. Tourists are only guests. Tourists can only come and see and go. But if you're a Costa Rican citizen or a Costa Rican resident, then you have rights and you have the ability to enforce them. Okay? A simple example. If you're coming into the country, any of you that came in the last few days, if the custom agent that saw you when you arrived just had in his mind that he didn't like your face and that you looked like a criminal, even though you don't require a visa to enter the country, he was going to say, "I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let you in." And he can do that. And he doesn't have to give you a reason. He's just going to sit you in a little chair there and he's going to say, "Okay, I don't like you, I don't like the way you look, or I don't like your specifics, or whatever." And he's just going to say, "Sit there, wait for the next flight back to the United States, you're going back." And he doesn't have to give you a reason because you're not a citizen, you're not a resident, you're only a guest. And as a guest, anybody can overstay their welcome in any house, right? So that is the case with this situation. Same happens to Latin Americans going to the United States. Even though we follow the rules and we get the visas and everything, if the guy that receives us in the airport says, "Oh, no, you look too much like Pablo Escobar, you're going to sit down there, you're going to go back home." And yes, sir, and I'm sitting and I'm waiting and I'm going home. Because there's no resource, there's no appeal, there's no nothing. You just sit, wait, take another shuttle back home, and forget about your vacations. If you're a resident, then that guy can tell you that, but you can take out your little card and say, I don't like you either. Go call your supervisor and we're going to have a little conversation because I have the right to be here. I've gone through the process. This is my house, and you're not going to stop me from coming in. All right? That happens. Also, that has happened. So for people that think that they're going to stay here for longer periods of time, I think it's a good idea. Take care of your residency, pay the lawyer as an insurance agent, insurance policy, so that they can get your residency done correctly, and take care of that, and don't worry about it anymore after that. In order to do so, there are several different ways to acquire residency, and there's several documents that are common to all the types of residency. Okay? So in order to become a resident, the documents that you are commonly going to be required to present are your birth certificate. You're going to have to bring a birth certificate. It doesn't matter if it's very old or very young, or very new, but you are going to need a birth certificate for each person that is going to apply. You're going to have to bring an FBI criminal history check, the one issued with fingerprints. It's very important that you get it from the FBI. No longer the police services in each state can certify that for Costa Rica, only the FBI. And you're going to need, if you're going to apply as a married couple, to comply the rules of residency based on marriage, you're going to require a marriage certificate also. Every document that comes from a foreign country requires a process of legalization that it's called apostille. Okay? I'm sure you have never heard of it. All right, it's not a problem. In the case of the American government, the apostille cover letters, because it's a cover letter that they put on top of your original document. They put a cover letter on top of your birth certificate, of your marriage certificate, and of your FBI report. That cover letter, you are going to get it from the Secretary of State in which the document was issued. If you were born in California, then the Secretary of State of California is the one that is going to provide you with the apostille for your document. You send the document to the Secretary of State of California, pay about $3, wait about 2 weeks, and then you get it back in the mail with the proper apostille. All right? Each one of the documents, whatever document, these three, or any other document that you think that you're going to use in order to apply for residency, requires to be apostilled. If in the event that the Administration of Immigration will ask you for additional documents, those will also be required to be apostilled. That is the minimum requirement for a document from a foreign country to be used in a different country based on the Hague Convention that Costa Rica and the United States are part of. All right, so that makes it easy. If it wasn't that convention, it would be much more complicated to bring documents and use them here. But that is the way that they have agreed upon in that convention. All right, so now we have the documents, right? We have the birth certificate, we have the FBI report, we have the marriage certificate. Now what do we do? Okay, what type of residency you want to apply for? One of the most simple ones is the residency based on a pension. All right, if you have a pension that is over $1,000 a month, and if that benefit of pension is for your lifetime, then you can use that in order to apply for residency. So as I mentioned, see, it's only 3 or 4 documents. If the pension is more than $1,000 and the $1,000 are going to be for the rest of your life, you bring me a letter that says that, along with the FBI report and your birth certificate, and that's it. You're in. If you want your wife to be under, or your children under 18 to be covered by your same umbrella of your pension, then you bring me their documents plus your pension, and you're covered. All the family will be under the same $1,000. It's a very simple process. It's not complicated. It has its T's to be crossed and its I's to be dotted, but any good immigration attorney will be able to provide you with a service like that. In the event that you do not have a pension and that you need to become a resident also, there's other alternatives. If you're going to buy a property in Costa Rica and your real estate is over $150,000, registered for tax purposes, then that property can be the subject that allows you to apply for residency. We're going to use the property in your name. We're going to tell the government, here's the certification from the local municipality. The property is over $150,000. And the other 3 documents, the birth certificate, the FBI report, and the marriage certificate, and we can apply for residency, but based on an investment. So we could call you an investor. See, we now covered the pensionado, the person that has a pension, and the investor, the person that has a property, real estate. Be certain, or be careful when you buy a real estate in Costa Rica now. If you're going to use that real estate in order to apply for residency, it must be in your personal name. You can't put it into a corporation. You cannot put it in somebody else's name. It must be in your personal name in order to show immigration that you and you personally did the investment. All right? Remember that if you're going to buy a property with an attorney that is not an immigration that has no immigration experience, sorry, and you are going to use then that property for immigration, you always have to purchase the property that you're going to use for immigration in your personal name. If you're going to buy more than one, then it doesn't matter. You can use a corporation, put them into the corporation, but the one that is going to be for the purposes of immigration has to be in your personal name. All right? Okay, so now I don't have a pension. I don't have $150,000, but I have $60,000 I can save, put them into a bank, and receive $2,500 a month from those 60,000 to live in Costa Rica. That person is called a rentista. This person has the ability to produce $2,500 a month every month during 24 months. So how you do that? You put that money into a bank in Costa Rica in a special certificate of deposit, and the bank will guarantee the immigration office you have the money necessary for that purpose, and it will deposit into your savings account in the same bank $2,500 a month from that deposit until there's nothing left. All right, so that guarantees you residency for 2 years. Every residency that I have talked about right now is a temporary residency. They're issued 2 years at a time. So every 2 years you have to go back to immigration and say, I'm still alive, but here's my pension. I'm still here, this is my property, I still have it, I still own it. Or here's another deposit of $60,000 for another 2 years. I'm going to keep on going and being a rentista still. All right? And they'll give you another 2 years. After you've been a resident for 3 years, that means that you have to have your temporary residency approved and then renewed at least once. You can apply for permanent residency. Permanent residency allows you to eliminate any income requirements, allows you to be able to work for somebody else in Costa Rica, and allows you not to have to present any more documents but your own cedula and yourself to the appointment of renewal. All right? That cedula is a permanent residency now that doesn't have any requirements but to be alive. Okay? Once you have demonstrated that you had temporary residency for 3 years, you request to the immigration office the change of the status. They grant you the change of the status. You are a permanent resident. All you have to do is every 2 years walk into a bank, get another card. No problem. All right? In order to be a citizen, you need to be a resident for 7 years. Okay? And specifically, 2,555 days in country. Okay? Because you can be a temporary residency for 11 years, but have been out of the country for 10. Right? Then that doesn't qualify you for citizenship. You have to be in the country 2,555 days and have been a legal resident for that period of time in order to apply. If you're older than 65, you apply directly. You don't have to do citizenship tests. If you're younger than 65, you have to do citizenship tests, which requires for you to have a handle of Spanish, some geography, and some history of Costa Rica. All right? The temporary residencies, the permanent residencies, require and are mandated to have inscription, to have you inscribed as a contributor to the Caja system. All right? So as soon as you become a resident in any of the categories I've explained, you have to go to the Caja, present your approval as a resident, and they will prorate you based on your income. What is the amount that you're going to pay monthly for the Caja services? There's no way around that. You have to apply for the Caja and pay the Caja every month to be a resident. All of us do it. It's like another tax, but it's the way to guarantee that the medical and pension services will be there when you need them. And you never know when you're going to need them. I guarantee you that the services that the Caja gave you and will provide you when you have serious illnesses are top quality. You cannot pay for a better service here than the one that you receive in the Caja when your illness is really serious. If you have a flu or you have a stomach ache, it's not going to be efficient. You're going to be doing a big line. You're going to get an aspirin and you're going to have to go home. But if you have a heart attack, if you have AIDS, if you have cancer, if you have diabetes, if you have whatever serious condition, they're going to take good care of you. They're going to give you your medicines for free. They're going to give you every single test for free. If there's an operation, the operation is going to be free. So that compensates for the amount of money that you have to pay every month. And it also not, it doesn't come to an amount such that you would say it's more expensive than paying insurance in the States for health. It's cheaper than that. Okay? So those requirements are going to be there. Once you approve your residency, you're going to have to do that. If you're going to be driving in Costa Rica, you have to understand that the system is a little bit funny. They grant you when you enter the country, they grant you 180 days to be here, but your driver's license from a foreign country, it's only good for 90 days. Okay, so if you're going to be driving in Costa Rica, you have to be driving only for 90 days. Can't drive more than that. If you become a resident, the driver's license that you have from your foreign country, in this case the United States, you can use to acquire a Costa Rican driver's license without having to go to any test or any driving experience, okay? You just present the driver's license, present a health report that you're in good health and you can see, and they're going to give you a Costa Rican driver's license as long as you become residents. That's another advantage of becoming a resident. If you are a resident, you have the ability of opening bank accounts that will have the ability of transferring big amounts of money from Costa Rica to the States, from the States to Costa Rica, and such on. If you don't have residency, you can open a bank account, but it's limited to $1,000 a month. So it's a very small account just to do little earnings and affairs here, and will not have the ability to transfer money from one account to another. It's basically a debit card with $1,000 so you can go to the market. But if you need to do business in Costa Rica, if you need to move amounts of money, like you sold your house in the States and you want to move the money here, you are going to have to be a resident in order to be able to do that. Otherwise, the money is going to be frozen and sent back to the States to the original bank account. Okay? There's other possibilities of residency, not only the three ones that I have explained to you. Those three are the most common ones that we normally use. But you can be a missionary from a church in the States and you can apply for residency. You can be a scientist. You can be an educator. You can be a person with a specific trade or occupation that is not going to take away jobs. It's going to create jobs. You can do that. You can have a business open here and you can apply for residency based on that. There's other alternatives. You can have a child in Costa Rica. You can marry a Costa Rican citizen or resident. Those are also alternatives. Any of them and all of them will require the basic elements I told you. Birth certificate, FBI report, marriage certificate. Those will always be required for any of the types that you apply or you try to apply for because of your specific circumstances. Okay? Those are the types of residencies that we most commonly use. That is the law of Costa Rica. It's a very simple process. The process will take 12 months, 14 months. Within that period of time, you're able to stay in the country, overstay your tourist visa, and don't have to pay any penalties for overstaying. Because it's supposed to be that the government should be taking care of that residency process, and it's supposed to be that they were taking care of it within your tourist visa terms.
What is the balance of women legislators to male legislators of different
Okay, that's interesting that you make that question because there's a law that obligates the political parties to have the same amount of appointees for any type of position in the state, the same amount of women and men. Yep. So if they don't comply with that, they can't go to the election. That's a good question. Any other questions about that or residency, maybe? Yes, ma'am.
I just wondered about when you say you're here as a visitor, you can drive for 3 months, but now you can stay here for 6 months so that you can't drive that whole time. Okay.
The vehicle department has a law. The immigration department has another law. The immigration department reformed its law to allow people to stay in as tourists for 180 days. The other guys didn't. So you can stay here for 180 days, but you can only drive for 90. They have to change the law, and that has to go through Congress. And you know what happens when Congress touches anything? You never know what's going to come out. Yeah, here and in any part of the world, I think. Yes.
Like you have the birth certificate
Yes.
and the FBI certification,
Yes.
and you have to be married.
No.
Oh, well, you put that down. Well,
No,
I heard
no,
you say
if you're
that.
married, you
Okay.
need to marry.
Let me explain that. In the event that you want to use your marriage to comply for two people, because let's say you are a pensioner and you have $1,000 of pension, your wife doesn't. Okay, what happens then? With your pension and the certificate of marriage that you both are married to each other, you can present an application in which you are the tenant of the residency, she is your dependent, and you both get residency because of marriage. Otherwise, you would have to comply with $1,000, and she would have to comply with $1,000. Okay? Now you understand? Okay. Okay. And not only that, if you have children under 18, those children under 18, as many as you have, will also receive residency based on your $1,000 because they will be your dependents. So the birth certificates, that's why they ask for them. And the marriage certificate, that's why they ask for that in the event that you're going to use it to allow your spouse to be part of your compliance as a resident.